Congressman, great to see you, and thank you for being here. So much to unpack. That soundbite that Blake used with Kayleigh McEnany at the briefing this afternoon, the administration saying we're working as hard as we can to get aid to the Americans that need it. The Democrats have been very critical, but the problem is the Democrats want a $3.5 trillion bill, and the Republicans want a $1 trillion bill, and it seems like it's going to be very difficult to meet in the middle. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, we're $2 trillion apart. Just imagine that, $2 trillion apart. Democrats have been dragging the negotiations out. They've been very disingenuous about their efforts, and really they've put their own partisan politics ahead of the American people, which is, frankly, becoming commonplace for the Democrats. This is, the things that they were proposing were just absolutely filled with grotesque Democratic agenda pork items. And we don't need that. We need to deal with the issues that are at hand, that are concerns to the American people, not fill the pockets of Democrat agenda items.
Well, part of the problem here was the extension of the unemployment benefits, the $600, right? The Democrats wanted that. The president said he would give it to them, and yet at the same time, they still weren't able to to make a deal. So he goes ahead, he signs the executive order. You've got $300 coming from the federal government, $100 coming from the states, and everybody's up in arms about that.
Yeah, $600, quite frankly, was too much. 83% of the workforce in America, at the unemployed individuals receiving that $600, 83% of them, that was more than they were making on the job, which makes it extremely difficult to get those individuals to go back. Here we are trying to reopen the economy, and the employers are unable to get their workforce back. And so, I think, frankly, that was precisely the reason why the Democrats wanted it. They want to slow down the reopening of the economy in order to hurt the president in November. But more realistically, $400, which is where it's at right now, I think is much more realistic. It will provide need to those families and individuals who have authentic needs, and at the same time, encourage them to get back to work as quickly as possible.
But the Democrats say, it's August 10th and people need this money. The $400 won't get into their pockets fast enough to help them, especially since you have this component of the states being involved.
Well, again, that's so disingenuous. It's the Democrats that have been dragging out the negotiations. They were the ones who have been obstructing this from the very beginning. Had they come to the table, we would not be in the situation now where the president's really being pushed into a corner, having to utilize executive orders rather than the negotiating instruments and tools that we had available, and the Democrats refused to do so. So now I believe the president has acted in the good faith of the American people, and he's taking steps that need to be done in order to address the problems at hand.
He is taking those steps, yet he's being criticized for overstepping his authority.
Yeah, listen, we all have concerns about the executive authority that, frankly, Congress has ceded to the executive branch. There's no question about that. But where were the Democrats when Obama did the very same thing, when he allowed millions of undocumented individuals to receive work permits? Their complaints right now are very disingenuous. And again, the president was pushed into a corner where the Democrats absolutely refused to negotiate. And yet there are families that desperately need some help, some aid. And so the president took temporary action to try to address some of those needs through executive order. And I think he's appropriate, and in his actions to do so is what needs to be done.
Congressman, thank you so much for your time today. Great to see you.
Thank you.